Okay, today I'm going to be reviewing Nordic Pocket Chainsaw. Pocket chainsaws have had a bit of a history with outdoors people. Namely, in the 90s they were fairly popular, and certainly amongst the military circles as an item in your survival tin or your survival kit. This would have been something that would have featured. Unfortunately, though, quite quickly they were being produced more and more cheaply, and almost everybody's had an experience of one of these where the toggle comes off in your hand, or the keyring, or whatever mechanism it's using, and so they pretty much, as quickly as they kind of hit the scene, petered out. Okay, and people have moved over to using a folding saw like a Bahco or a Silky or something like that. For me personally, I think these are actually making a comeback, with this brand here, the Nordic Pocket Chainsaw, being the leader so far. Best thing I've tried. True story, I actually used this alongside my knife and a Bahco Laplander, as I wasn't allowed to have much equipment, and I took it out to Africa into a very remote location to do some aid work, working on an old hospital and turning it into a skills college for youngsters to learn. So let's have a little look. This is how it arrives. The thing only weighs 4.7 ounces. Okay, so this isn't a heavy item at all. It's going to sit on your belt kit. Let's have a little look. I think it costs roughly £40, and I got mine through Brigantis Consulting or Brigantis Equipment, and there's a link in here below. The actual outer casing I'm pretty impressed with. Is rather robust, has a really heavy duty Velcro flap for easy access. Okay, says what it is on the outside. That's always helpful, and most notably it's got a belt loop on there. Okay, so this actually sat around my back whilst I was in Africa, and I barely noticed it was even there, and every time I needed it, straight to hand. Okay, so inside you've got the usual guarantees and instructions and bits and pieces. One of the silica gel packs just to keep everything nice and moisture free, oxygen free. And we've got the actual chain itself. As I said, bright orange tags. You're not going to lose this thing in the undergrowth in a hurry. Okay, and the chain has got, the chain itself has got a bit of packaging on here that I'm just going to have to fight off. Try not to hurt myself in the process, because this is very sharp, guys. So just be wary when you are pulling this off. Okay, be careful. There are a lot of these type of saws on the internet. I did have a little look, and I noticed on Amazon you can buy them for as cheap as £4. Don't be fooled, they're not the same thing. They might have orange toggles on at the end, but they're most certainly definitely not the same thing. Okay, the reason for that is, if you look closely on this one, it has teeth. Pretty much every single tooth is on there and is complete. Quite notably, I can see the articulation point here between the handles and where the chain starts. This to me looks really strong and robust, and I can see it's got double, in fact triple stitching running through this section here. On the old ones you used to get, generally this was like a keyring or something, and it would just ting, come off in your hand. Okay, really couldn't put up with much fight at all. So it's the same both sides, so the whole thing articulates. Occasionally you might get it twisted up like this, but it's not rocket science to work out, okay, how to try and untangle the thing. You've just got to take the time to be a little bit patient and unwind it. Keeping one of these oiled, okay, at all times is probably going to be quite handy. So yeah, pouring a little bit of oil down there, or giving it a spray down with some WD or something after use would probably be helpful. Looking at the teeth on closer inspection, you can see they are literally exactly the same as you would find on your chainsaw. So I guess sharpening these, although I haven't had a go, would be rather similar, in that you would get a file, and a few angled push and pulls on there would keep its edge. So now that we've had a little bit of a closer inspection on how this thing works, why don't we just put it to use and have a little go. Where I see these really coming into their own is in blitzing things down to produce firewood, things that are slightly bigger than you'd normally find, and the fact that having a toggle either end means that you can share the workload with someone else. Okay, so you can share that calorie expenditure. It's not just one person with a short saw doing all those motions through that same muscle group. You can use two hands, you can use one hand with someone else, you can swap things up a little bit. and you could probably fell trees of pretty much that sort of diameter, okay, with this. And in fact I actually have done, so I know it can do it. I've got a piece of wood here, so let's have a little test and see how we get on. Sliding my hands through here. What I'd then do is place this one underneath the piece of work, okay, and I've made sure that this piece of hardwood seasoned elm is up off the floor. I'm going to secure it with my foot, and then I'm going to use the two-handed technique, as it's only me today. Make sure my hands are all the way through here and just begin to pull each side. And what I'm doing is I'm ensuring that I'm using the entirety of the saw, making the saw do the work. Okay, I'm not pulling particularly hard, and I'm not at this stage of the game, I'm not even pulling particularly fast. I'm just literally working the saw forwards and backwards. As I said, in Africa I was going through hardwood trees, and I was really giving it what for, and it was going straight through them. Actually, a point to note, something I should probably make an observation here is this could happen. So let's just say you put your hands too close together and you're in a bit of a rush. You could potentially run your hands down the inside. It's probably not going to happen, or not likely to happen, but it potentially could. So just have that in mind, and if you can, wherever possible, maybe even work with a partner to ensure that doesn't happen. Okay, so that's gone all the way through. The great bit about this is I don't have to worry about my chain getting stuck. I can just let go with my hands, pick up the wood, pull the chain out, which is now nice and hot, and look at that. There's a really clean finish all the way through there. I can feel the heat in the chain, and again it's probably going to cool down quite quickly. Let's place that off to one side. But that's just reduced that down. Okay, and this is probably one of the hardest woods, one of the harder woods we have here in the UK. Seasoned elm. Okay, it's notoriously a nightmare because of the way the grain runs both ways pretty much. So this will go straight onto the fire. Okay guys, so that was the pocket chainsaw. So that's the Nordic Pocket Chainsaw. If you've got any comments you want to leave below, please do, and we could definitely discuss it. And if you like what you just saw, please hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe and tell all your friends.